So what we're going to do is we will first have a look on that mix right here. And afterwards we check, okay, how does it sound with the mix bus effects that I use right here and without. The most important thing about mix bus processing is that you do tiny steps and you don't do big stuff that creates or ruins your mix that you did before in surgical detail. I really use like a very old school and classic way with the typical kind of tools that you use for your mix bus. And here we go. Let's first check the track, how it sounds without the mix bus effects and afterwards including. So you see right here on the screen, there's this little button. When I switch it on, you see then all plugins are live. When I switch it off, all plugins are offline. So let's start with the offline plugins and then I switch between on and off. So what you literally hear right here is that the track gets a little bit more presence and finally also gets a little bit more dynamic range and space, and it sounds glued together. And this is exactly what you want when you work on a track like that one. Because what I do right here, I use all the effects in the box with the UAD machine. And this is something what I really like for recalling, especially in mixes. It's good to be fast and also when you're somewhere with a computer that you can use those plugins. Sometimes when I use the analog outboard gear right here in the studio, I use it most of the time for the transformers. Then you can record it on groups or on the mix bus itself, and then you have it with yourself. Now let's check what is on the channel. So you see right here, the first thing what I did is I was adding a Pro Q3 from FabFilter. You see right here, it looks like that nearly nothing happened because you have to do very tiny steps, because don't start boosting 10 dB or whatever on your mix bus, because it will completely change the whole balancing of your track. Just do some nice tiny stuff, you know, whether you put some powder sugar on your desert, whatever, you know, something that really makes sense. So I will zoom in a bit so that we can better see what I'm doing right here. You see in that track, I use a low shelf to cut a little bit the bass on, yeah, everything below 23 Hertz. Because what I do right here is, you know, I let the speakers relax a bit more on the super heavy wobbling bass frequencies. You know, the most important thing, I don't do cuts like this, low cuts, because low cuts, yeah, they create some weird noises in the highs. Somehow, especially when you work like on a complete group. And right here on the top end, I use a dynamic EQ just on the side signal. You see it's very tiny, just even below 1 dB, just to open up a little bit the sides, you know. And what we do now for the first step, let's just listen how it sounds when I switch on and off that EQ right here in the mix bus. Okay, here we go. First without and afterwards with that FabFilter plugin. It's quite interesting because it cleans up the whole track more or less, you know, because the bass gets more stable and the sides, especially the top end, something is opening up and it's getting bigger, you know. So after that FabFilter, I go on a Pultec EQ, you know, and right here on this machine, I paint with colors, you know. I just do a tiny bit, you know, I have it like on stage 1 on the low end and top end as well. You see right here, I'm supporting the bass drum on 60 Hertz with that QP1A, with that Pultec style EQ, and also I cut, you know, around that frequency. What you have to know is the Pultec EQ always cuts like from the frequency range a little bit higher, yeah, above 60 Hertz on the cut signal, because it won't cut the same frequency. It will cut the frequency that is like on the upper range. And right here, you see it on the high frequency range. So I boost on 16K just on one step, and I cut on 20K just on one step. So it makes it a bit more warm, you know, and all that sizzle like from the hi-hats and stuff gets a little bit cleaned up. So this is something I really like. And of course, the effect of the Pultec EQ is always quite strong. Yeah? So let's listen to it. How does it sound with the Pultec EQ in here? So what you can really hear, you know, it makes the transients soft of that track, and it sounds like bigger, you know, there's life in that track. We have that warm low end and this nice and brave top end in here. This is something I really like about that one. And you see also right here, just tiny steps on that whole thing, nothing that is heavily impacting our mix, just supporting what we're having here. So the next thing what I have in here is a G-Bus compressor, also like from the UAD, is a G-Bus, and typical especially for dance music in that machine is to have a very, very, very slow attack right here, and of course a fast release. And literally this allows me to just get a bit more glue effect to your track, so the kick drum is still present and bouncing in between there, and after the kick drum slightly the compression is happening and glues the track together. Let's see how it impacts the music. I always feel like when you have this mix bus compression in here, that the song gets suddenly some life. It literally sounds completely different to before. So I always call it like, okay, something feels like cold, naked, and suddenly you add up the glue compression and it sounds like, okay, there's, yeah, something happens. Let's see whether we can also hear it on YouTube right here. So let's check it out. Yeah, I think you can literally hear it. The song is jumping. You know, it really supports that dance groove. And this is something I really like. Of course, like with the Pultec before, because we boost a little bit of gain, it also supports more or less the compressor. So let's first hear, like when I switch after and after the effects, so then we can better hear it. So then we can compare the full track again against the processed and unprocessed way. So here we go. So first, let's switch off everything and then add the effects after and after. So starting Fab Filter, Pultec EQ, and then our G-Bus. Yes, and that's literally it. So just use small steps on your mix bus to support the life of your track. And don't do huge boosts or crazy moves or whatever on your mix bus. If you want to do experiments, do it like on your single channels or whatever you're going to plan, but keep your mix bus just the little powder sugar on your project. And yes, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next video.